Samurai Nippon. Sengoku Honor and Betrayal.
Why did two organizations that were killing each other just 6 years ago suddenly form the ultimate alliance? The truth is, behind it all was one man's life or death gamble. January 21, Kyoto 1866. Satsuma domain residence at Mihanabatake, Kyoto. A handshake that would change Japan's destiny was about to be exchanged.
But first, please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. This helps the algorithm show you more videos perfectly suited to your interests.
Chapter 1. Historical Background.
The year late Edo period, 1866 in modern terms. This would be like rival corporations announcing a merger. No, even more dramatic than that. Because these two domains, Satsuma and Choshu, had been engaged in bloody warfare just 6 years earlier. Bunkyu 3, 1863, August 18th. The Kinmon Incident at Kyoto Imperial Palace. Choshu domain attacked the imperial court, while Satsuma domain fought to stop them. On this day, Kyoto became a battlefield. The roar of matchlock rifles echoed, and smoke covered the sky. Young leaders of Choshu domain, including Kosaka Genzue, died in battle one after another. In this battle, Choshu suffered over 200 casualties and was expelled from Kyoto. Furthermore, they were branded enemies of the court by the shogunate. Satsuma are traitors. Choshu are rebels. Both domains harbored mutual hatred. A Choshu samurai's diary records, "If we let the Satsuma live, they will surely bring harm to Japan." Meanwhile, in Satsuma, voices overflowed, saying, "Choshu are traitors to the nation. We shall deal with them ourselves." However, in KO1 1865, the situation changed dramatically. The trigger was the shogunate's betrayal. The Second Choshu expedition. Shogun Tokugawa Iemochi ordered domains nationwide to attack Choshu. The mobilized forces numbered 150,000, but Satsuma domain Lord Shimazu Hasamitsu refused this deployment order. The reason was simple. The shogunate can no longer protect Japan. 12 years since Commodore Perry's arrival. The chaos of opening the country. Unequal treaties with foreign powers, inflation. Rice prices in Edo had tripled. The shogunate's prestige had fallen to the ground.
Chapter 2. Protagonist's Entry and Strategy.
Satsuma's Saigo Takamori had made a calculation. If the shogunate continued, 2 million ryo of national wealth would flow out annually. Gold flowing overseas, unequal tariffs, incompetent diplomacy. In modern currency value, approximately 2 trillion yen. This country would perish. Meanwhile, Choshu domain was also cornered. Shogunate forces 150,000 versus Choshu forces 3,000, force ratio 50-1, domain finances on the verge of bankruptcy, weapons and ammunition for only 2 more months. At this rate, total annihilation. Choshu domain's senior retainer, Kido Takayoshi, spent sleepless nights. At this rate, the domain will perish. No, even before that, we'll die with our mission unfinished. In this desperate situation, one man takes action. Tosa domain ronin Sakamoto Ryoma, age 31, height approximately 175 centimeters, a giant for his time. He had a strategy no one else had thought of. Ryoma was the consultant of the late Edo period. After leaving Tosa domain, he became a disciple of Katsura and learned navigation and world affairs, and he viewed Japan's future in numbers. What Ryoma focused on was Satsuma's money and Choshu's will. Satsuma had overwhelming financial power, annual income of 1 million. Kok equivalent to approximately 150 billion yen in modern economic power. Through Ryukyu trade and sugar monopoly, Satsuma was Western Japan's wealthiest domain. Meanwhile, Choshu had a track record of reform. The Kihei-tai, a modern army that recruited based on ability, regardless of social status, not just samurai, but farmers and townspeople too, could become soldiers if they had the will. This was a revolutionary system comparable to Europe's national army. The founder of the Kihei-tai, Takasugi Shinsaku, said an army of only samurai is outdated. From now on, the power of the people will move the nation. This philosophy would become the driving force of the later Meiji Restoration. Ryoma's proposal was simple. Satsuma provides the money. Choshu does the fighting. We split the fruits of victory 50-50. Let's create a new Japan together. This would become the framework of the Satsuma-Choshu alliance. But there was a major problem. Both domains refused even to breathe the same air. I hate even breathing the same air as those Satsuma bastards. Choshu are nothing but rebels. To bridge this gap would require a miracle.
Chapter 3. turning point in Ryoma's gamble.
May KO 1, 1865. In Nagasaki, Ryoma held secret talks with Satsuma, Domain's power broker, Saigo Takamori. The location, the restaurant Kagetsu in Nagasaki's Maruyama district. It was a humid night with the scent of the tide. Ryoma cut to the chase. Saigo-san, will you sell weapons to Choshu? Saigo answered while smoking his pipe. Ryoma-dan, that's an impossible request. Satsuma and Choshu are enemies. But Ryoma didn't give up. Because you're enemies, there's value in joining forces. If Choshu falls, Satsuma is next. The shogunate's strategy is to eliminate strong domains one by one. Saigo was silent for a while. Then he laughed heartily. Interesting. If it's under my name, the shogunate can't complain. Thus, 7,300 state-of-the-art Minié rifles and 12 cannons would be transferred to Choshu under Satsuma's name. In June, Nagasaki port, a Satsuma merchant ship departed loaded with weapons. Ryoma's company, Kameyama Shachu, brokered this deal. Inside wooden crates, state-of-the-art Minié rifles were lined up. Their range was 3 times that of conventional matchlocks. With these, Choshu could fight. The value approximately 4 billion yen in modern currency. This transaction saved Choshu domain, and it created a debt to Satsuma. This debt would become the groundwork for the later alliance. December KO 1. Ryoma moves again. This time Kyoto. The purpose direct talks between Satsuma and Choshu. Ryoma summoned Choshu's Katsura Kogoro to the residence of Satsuma chief retainer Komatsu Tatewaki. December 8th, Katsura Kogoro arrived in Kyoto. However, no one from Satsuma was present at the promised Komatsu residence. Katsura was furious. Where are those Satsuma bastards? Being late for our appointment is an insult. The truth was, Saigo hadn't come. Within Satsuma domain, there were many opponents, and Saigo had become unable to move. Voices erupted within the domain, saying, joining hands with Choshu would dishonor our ancestors. Ryoma prostrated himself. Katsura-san, give me one more chance. Pressing his forehead to the tatami, blood seeped from his forehead. Katsura looked at Ryoma's back. That back was trembling. Katsura sighed. Ryoma, I understand your resolve, but this is the last time. If Satsuma betrays us again, I'll take your head. Katsura was serious. January 20, KO2, 1866. Ryoma returned to Satsuma and confronted Saigo. Saigo-san, are you serious about changing Japan, or are you just all talk? Saigo looked into Ryoma's eyes. In those eyes was life or death resolve. Then he said quietly, understood. I'll go. I depart for Kyoto tomorrow.
Chapter 4. Climax Historic Handshake.
The next day, January 21st, at Satsuma Domain residence, representatives from both Satsuma and Choshu gathered. Saigo Takamori, Komatsu Tatewaki, and Katsura Kogoro. The air in the room was tense. Armed guards stood at the 4 corners. Such was the tension that a sword fight could break out at any moment. Ryoma was also present. Sweat beaded on his hands. Please, let this work. He prayed repeatedly in his heart. For the first 30 minutes, no one spoke. Only the sound of kimono rustling against tatami echoed. Occasionally, birds chirping outside sounded unusually loud. Then Saigo opened his heavy mouth. Choshu Domain's resolve is admirable. During the Kinmon Incident, we fought Choshu as enemies. But now it's different. Now the true enemy is the shogunate. Katsura was silent for a while. Then he responded, I respect Satsuma Domain's magnanimity. We too have hated Satsuma, but hatred cannot change Japan. Now is the time to unite our strength. In that moment, Ryoma held back tears. 6 years of hatred melted with just 2 sentences. I did it. I really did it, he shouted in his heart. Komatsu Tatewaki pulled out a document from his pocket. Then I shall read aloud the provisions of the alliance. Komatsu's voice resonated through the room. The alliance consisted of 6 articles. Article 1. If the shogunate attacks Choshu, Satsuma will pressure the shogunate in Kyoto. Article 2. If war becomes prolonged, Satsuma will dispatch 2,000 troops. Article 3. If Choshu wins, Satsuma will conduct negotiations with the imperial court. This first article was the most important. This was effectively a military alliance. If the shogunate attacked Choshu, Satsuma would strike the shogunate from behind. The shogunate would be forced to fight on 2 fronts. Saigo and Katsura signed this document. Then they exchanged a firm handshake. Ryoma would never forget this moment. This handshake will change Japan. Then Ryoma added his endorsement to preserve this evidence. If this alliance is broken, Sakamoto Ryoma will take responsibility to both domains. This was Ryoma's life or death guarantee. If the alliance were broken, he would commit seppuku. Such was his resolve. On this day, Japanese history moved. Satsuma and Choshu, two giant forces, joined hands. It was the moment a new power opposing the shogunate was born.
Chapter 5. Conclusion and Impact on Modern Times.
Just 1.5 years after this alliance, on October 14th, KO 3, 1867, the Taisei Hokan return of political power to the emperor. Tokugawa Yoshinobu returned the position of shogun to the imperial court. On this day, the Tokugawa Shogunate that had lasted 265 years came to an end. Then on January 3rd, KO 4, 1868, the Battle of Toba Fushimi, the beginning of the Boshin War. Satsuma Choshu forces 5,000 versus Shogunate forces 15,000, numerically overwhelmingly disadvantaged, but the winners were Satsuma Choshu. The Satsuma Choshu forces were equipped with state-of-the-art breech-loading rifles. Performance was incomparably superior to the shogunate's old-style guns. Furthermore, coordinated command structure. This overcame the numerical disadvantage. The origin of this victory was that handshake on January 21st. Without Ryoma, this alliance would never have been formed. Without the alliance, there would have been no Meiji Restoration. However, Ryoma was assassinated at Omiya Inn in Kyoto on November 15th, KO 3, without witnessing this victory. Age 33, the perpetrators have never been identified. This was just 2 months before the new Japan he dreamed of would be realized. In Ryoma's pocket was the 8-point program for a new government, containing his vision for the new government. Parliamentary system, adherence to international law, establishment of a navy. The Japan he envisioned was the prototype of today's Japan. 159 years since the Satsuma-Choshu alliance. Without this alliance, there would have been no Meiji Restoration, no modernization of Japan, and perhaps not even today's Japan. History was changed by one man's prostration. Two forces thought to be irreconcilable joined hands, because there was a mediator who risked his life, because there was one man named Sakamoto Ryoma.
Ending.
Like and subscribe to discover the unknown truths of the Bakumatsu period. Leave a comment telling us which Bakumatsu figure you want to learn about next. Saigo, Takamori, Takasugi Shinsaku, or the Shinsengumi. Samurai Nippon. See you next time.